Hey, all you space cats. Welcome to the Black Hole Podcast, Season 8, Episode 5, Mitch for Mayor. I'm Mitch Miller, the most neutral human being on the planet, the most transparent candidate on any ballot, and the most underground artist in the universe. I'm running for mayor of Pittsburgh. I'll get into that later, but first I want to challenge the ATF of the United States, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, to a non-lethal duel. Every agent, contractor, operator, and employee, all the way up to the director. I, Mitchell Miller, challenge you to a non-lethal duel using non-lethal dueling pistols, non-lethal swords, or a scholastic wrestling match. Now, I've discussed how this could be a conflict resolution strategy that ends all deadly war on planet Earth. So these are the steps I'm taking. And I've suggested we establish a code of honor when it comes to mechanical weapons especially, and matching up equal experience levels, logging those experience levels. I have systems on the duel.us website to begin logging this stuff so we can match people up, surrogates, standing in for others, so on and so forth. And I said that I have very little experience on pistols and swords, no experience on swords. So I think we should revert to a scholastic wrestling match, and I've explained that I have roughly 13 years of experience, one season wrestler, scholastic wrestling. So if you want to put forward a surrogate to complete this duel, my terms are this. If I win the duel, you must use your influence and resources to transition the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States to an all-female bureau. Right? You begin transferring male employees to other agencies, some of the ones I've already challenged. There's plenty of intelligence and law enforcement agencies out there, and you only recruit female employees. And we transition to an all-female FBI. Obviously, you can name your terms, and if you win the duel, and ideally we don't even duel, you just do the right thing, use your influence and resources to do this, and we move forward to bring equality between men and women around the globe. Right? You have some progressive nations, you have some conservative nations. You may say it's threatening to have an all-female FBI, but we have a lot of equality between men and women in the United States. That's why you should entertain the idea of having a female Bureau of Investigation to bring equality to other nations around the globe in a very controlled manner, in a non-threatening manner, but I think this is how you do it, and that should be the goal of any modern civilization, to have equality between men and women. So before I get into some concepts, I want to talk about the 202 video journal. This is a video journal series, a 202-part video journal series I began publishing on January 1st, 2025. I published one video per day. Zelda's chiming in, my podcast producer, Zelda. I published one video per day, and it's just me sitting in front of a computer, and there's a lot of good information on there, some sensitive information, and that's why I put a disclaimer in the description of these videos. And it says these videos are only intended for medical and legal professionals. I talk about attorney-client privilege, doctor-patient privilege, two doctrines that were accepted in the United States, privacy between these professionals and their clients and patients. And I've done sensitive there's some sensitive info in these, and I've done some investigations that I talk a little bit about. And if the reason I put this disclaimer on there is if I took these concepts or these investigations to a lawyer, that lawyer's office has smart TVs in it. They have a conference phone on the conference table. These are all susceptible to being hacked. A doctor has a computer in every patient room now, and both doctors and lawyers are usually carrying smartphones with them, all susceptible to hacking. So the idea of these privileges, these doctrines, I believe are gone in the United States. If you're targeted by a corporation, you're targeted by an entity, they're tracking your every move, they're hacking into all the electronics around you and trying to find out what information you have that's sensitive to them so that they can handle damage control, right? So that's why I put this disclaimer on there. And if the GOP, which is trying to pass a ban on pornography, I think if they're going to do that, they should focus and start with doctors and lawyers, right? Because pornography has always been a major Trojan horse scenario to hack into people's computers. The ethics of pornography allows hackers a certain amount of leeway to use it to infiltrate into people's personal devices and things. And if these doctors and lawyers are searching pornography on any of their devices and then they take them to their professional office and hook up to the Wi-Fi, they could be putting all kinds of patients, all kinds of people's clients' personal information at risk, basically. So I think if you're going to do a pornography ban, I'm not going to weigh in on what I think about that, but I think if you're going to do it, you should focus on these professionals first and making sure that they're not allowed to do that, right? But those people have a lot more sway in the politics, so we'll never see that happen. They'll crack down on factory workers or whoever. So here's who has permission to watch the 202 Video Journal. I just want to be clear. Okay? I put the disclaimer on there, and that was to put out a concept. But here's who can watch it. Anyone that will use any of the content I have published, both on this video journal or anywhere else, to make a case to keep me, Mitch Miller, out of jail, prison, or a mental facility. Right? However you edit it, however you put it, whatever parts you take, maybe you take content and present it to a lawyer. Then I would consider you one of my personal lawyers, and you're a legal professional. Maybe I'm in jail, maybe it's before, maybe they're building a case, and you take this to a lawyer and counteract that. Maybe you take content and present it to a psychiatrist. Then I would consider you my personal physician, a legal or a medical professional. So if you even remotely think about doing this, about keeping me out of these facilities, you're welcome to watch these video journals. I consider you one of these professionals. Also, if you're trying to get wireless sensitivity accepted in the DSM, the psychiatric book that is diagnosis for psychiatric illnesses, if you're trying to get specifically the diagnosis wireless sensitivity, and you take any of my information that I publish and present it to a board of psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, medical professionals, I consider you a medical professional. All right. So we're talking about... So you're welcome to watch the 202 Video Journal. There's a lot of good information on there. There's a lot of information I haven't put on in my podcast yet. I know it's a lot of content. There's hours and hours and hours of video on there. What I would steer you towards is there's 8 or 9 videos in a row that is my criminal and mental health record in my words. I'm wearing a sheriff's ball cap, a ball cap with sheriff written on it during these videos, so you can easily identify them. They're in my words, my history with the criminal justice system and the mental health system, and you can hear it in my words. so it can help you decide whether you want to work with me, help me, or whether you think I am just a dangerous psycho killer or whatever you want to call me, right? So, Mayor of Pittsburgh. One thing I would propose is Mayor of Pittsburgh. I'm running for Mayor of Pittsburgh. This Green Sheds program, right? So it's a simple concept. We take sheds, garden sheds, with lockers that either unlock with a code or through software that we develop for all cities around the country. There's electric garden tools in these lockers. We put them on empty lots in low-income neighborhoods in Pittsburgh. People in these neighborhoods can get an app on their phone to unlock the lockers, unlock the shed, unlock the lockers, get electric lawn care tools to work on their yards. Now, obviously for fiscal purposes, they may have to put a deposit down, but ideally this program is free. You get use of free garden equipment, lawnmowers, electric weed eaters, electric hedge clippers. You get them for free. You just have to put a deposit down. You get that deposit back on your credit card after you've returned it. And we're going to track all this equipment to see how many hours they lasted before they broke down. You won't be held to your security deposit if the garden tool has thousands of hours on it. Obviously, they only have there's planned obsolescence here, so there's an element where we fight planned obsolescence and get the best tools in these sheds, and we weigh in on them. The shed is solar powered. It charges the batteries off solar power, so this allows some of the lawn upkeep in the cities to be from green energy, and it's a free program, and it could help youngsters have businesses like I did, mowing lawns when I was very young, or younger. So I tried to organize this by starting a lawn care business. Ideally, it was just for small lawns like mine, a 30 by 30 foot lawn, where I just come with an electric lawnmower, mow it, weed eat. And that's what I was looking for. It was a lawn care business where I would use all green equipment, charge my batteries off of my home electric system here at my house. We pay for green energy, green electric. And I would go out and mow lawns in Bloomfield neighborhood, and it would be zero emissions. I would offset my emissions from my car driving to each location by using the UN carbon neutral offset platform. I believe it's the only platform people should be using to offset their carbon. Right? Why won't we get behind the UN for carbon offsets? Everything else is a vanity project by billionaires to offset your carbon, in my opinion. There should be one. The UN's it, and that's the only one I use to offset my carbon. So offset that. Ideally, I would get an electric trike that I could carry this equipment on and go to close yards around my neighborhood. And it would be allied with a nonprofit that facilitates these green sheds, works with the city, even if I'm not mayor, works with the city to deliver these. I started a Facebook group for this business called the Hurley He Boy, like the SNL skit, the Hurley He Boy. If you want to join that, help me develop the program. We can develop it for all the mayors around the United States. And I post my carbon offsets on that Facebook group and give tips about using the UN carbon neutral platform to offset your carbon, because it's not intuitive. I agree with that, but you should try to navigate it and use it to offset your carbon. All right, so we're on the national news here. I have an AI program, right? An artificial intelligence program. An artificial intelligence program for Congress. Let's see who comes up with the most innovative ways to govern, right? The people should know. So what I'm proposing here is that all past and present lawmakers submit their Word docs or whatever they type their bills up in, whatever word processing file they type their new bills up, their legislation up. Going back to the 90s, going back to the internet, to the widespread use of computers in legislating, you submit all your old documents, all these politicians, right? And we have this AI program that scans the bill, the legislation, the date it was first drafted, not when it was first proposed on the floor, when it was first drafted on your home computer or your office computer, right? And it figures out if one party comes up with more original concepts than the other party. So, and we'll see if one party cherry picks certain concepts and applies them to their bill, right? So, in 1999, this person came up with an interesting way to develop a tax, roll out a tax, and in 2001, a person in the opposite party took that after it was published on the floor and rolled it into their bill. Well, how does this all work, right? Let's work it out. Let's figure it out. So, innovative way to tax, interesting way to regulate. We're going to figure out which party comes up with more original concepts and which party is just copying and cherry picking things and making themselves sound innovative when they roll out their bills. If that's the case, maybe it's equal. Maybe there's equal original concepts from both parties, right? But the people deserve to know the truth. So I'm always thinking of ways to use AI in the best possible ways. I think this is a good way to use it. And to start this company, here's what I propose. I took paper notes in post-secondary school in University of Pittsburgh. When I went to college, I took pen and paper notes. Now, most of these were chicken scratch, brief little comments and notes that help because I have a pretty good memory with things. Now, my spouse took much better notes, very intricate, very detailed, and they're all up in the attic, right? At least from her master's program, I know, but she might still have some from undergrad. And millions of people hold on to these notes, and you put so much work, you paid so much money to do this, it's hard to just shred them all. And if you can store them, a lot of people, I feel like, have stored these notes. So let's use them, right? Let's cross-reference all of people's notes. This could be going back to the 60s or 70s, maybe even the 50s. Cross-reference the notes to see if they are fact-based. Now, the conservatives, they say post-secondary education has a liberal agenda. My theory is that conservatives are drinking the Kool-Aid that the mainstream media is putting out there, and that college-educated people sat in these hard desks and listened to the facts. Sure, they'll put some gay people in the media so you can call the media liberal. But let's really call it what it is. It's a for-profit media system that benefits the wealthy. And a lot of wealthy people are conservatives, so they are parroting what they want you to parrot back. We should listen to these people that went to post-secondary education. We should give them a fair chance to present the facts to us, which they don't have in the media, and which is why I proposed changing the media in some regard. It's a shame that you have to pay $100,000 now in the United States to be presented the facts. And that's why the U.S. for-profit media system is not ethical. It would be one thing if post-secondary education was free or heavily subsidized. Then we could get the facts, but that's not the case. We have a for-profit media, and we have higher education that costs amazing amounts of money to find a professor brave enough to present you with the facts. So that's what I propose, is to start an AI company where we can scan all of your college notes and get some software that can decipher the cursive writing or print or handwriting that's already way developed by this point. And it might just be me with a scanner. And I buy some software that can read your writing, and that's how this AI company starts. Me just coming to your house, picking up your notes in a van, taking them somewhere and scanning them all. Probably take days, weeks. I don't know what it would cost, but isn't it worth it to start an AI company that can actually use the human element, the handwriting of humans, to possibly learn the facts, or at least cross-reference and say 90% of this handwriting that has now been entered into this system was based on fact, science and facts. So contact me if you'd like to hold Congress accountable through AI by seeing who is actually coming up with original ways to govern and who's just phoning it in. And if you'd like to put your college notes to use, of course you'll get a copy. You'll get a copy on disk of all your college notes, so then you can get rid of those boxes and boxes of notes, notepads. You can shred them, recycle them, whatever. You'll have it on disk. And I'll keep a copy for the AI project if we ever develop the AI. And so contact me if you'd like me to archive your notes and give you a disk and keep a copy for AI. And maybe the AI project never gets off the ground and you get your notes archived. But that's what I wanted to put out there today. Thanks for listening. And until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis.